Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover them all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So the team went out and did the thing we asked them to do, the thing that they've been talking about all week long, coaches, players, to a man. They avoided the letdown in Houston, taking care of business 23-10 over the Houston Texans, improving to 6-5 on the season, getting over 500 for the first time this late in the season since 2018. It's a great feeling. Good to see the fellas go out and execute the way that we know they're capable of. The score really doesn't indicate how dominant of a performance this was. I really always am a huge proponent of the score reflecting how the game really went. I don't think 23-10 does that accurately. However, we'll talk about why that was and what needs to be done moving forward. However, 5 sacks of Davis Mills, the starting quarterback of the Houston Texans, 2 interceptions off of him, one a pick six that set the tone for the ball game by Kendall Fuller. The Texans had -5 yards of total offense at halftime. They finished with less than 170 yards of total offense for the entire game. It was a total team effort and a dominant performance by the defense for the most part. And so this was, without a doubt, needed. But I think for the psyche of the team and more importantly, the psyche of us as fans, to see the team go out and do what they needed to do against the team that they were supposed to do it against feels really good. Let's talk about what was done in the game upon further review. So we start with Logan Thomas. I talked about him yesterday. Logan Thomas looks like he's completely back now and ready to contribute to this team down the stretch run. This is a guy that was one of the leaders of the team receiving wise in 2020, the last time this team made it to the postseason. We expected big things from him last year. Of course, he got injured and, he's been in and out of the lineup with various ailments this season. He's finally healthy. It seems like he was the leading receiver in this game versus the Texans, 5 catches, 65 yards, made some acrobatic catches that we've come accustomed to seeing him make. And I think his size in the red zone is going to prove to be huge for this football team. His ability to catch the football, be a big target, run after the catch, which we saw in this game, which was very impressive from Logan. But making those contested catches was the thing that really separated him in 2020. Looking forward to seeing if he can continue to be what we need him to be. I was very vocal about the lack of production from the tight end position, and it's too talented of a positional group for us to be talking about the insignificant contributions being made by that room. But Amani Rodgers was the one guy that was giving us a little something. He's now on IR. We need the leader of that room in Logan Thomas to step up. I hope this is the beginning of what Logan Thomas is going to bring to the table moving forward. Hopefully this is the tip of the iceberg because we know he's capable and we could sure use his contributions to this offense. Upon further review, this is the first time that Scott Turner and the offensive approach has leaned towards the hot hand at the running back position. We've heard Scott Turner say we're going to ride the hot hand. We've heard Ron Rivera say we're going to ride the hot hand. But this is the first time that I think they actually did it. Since Brian Robinson's return week 5 against the Titans, I think he's had more carries in every single game than Antonio Gibson. I don't know. I can't quite remember week 5 against the Titans, that first game back. He may have had more carries than than Antonio Gibson. Not quite sure about that. But I know every week after that, he had the most carries. He had the lion's share of the carries. Week 6 against Chicago, week 7 against Green Bay, week 8 against Indianapolis. Definitely weeks 9 and 10 versus the Vikings and the Eagles. And then in this game, the hot hand was Antonio Gibson. He led the team in rushing, 4 yards per carry, 18 rushes for him, 15 for Brian Robinson. I know a lot of people think that should be the distribution of the carries where Gibson is slightly above Robinson. That's not going to be the way that the carries are distributed each and every single week. It just so happened that Antonio Gibson was the hot hand this week. He was running the football. He was determined. He was breaking off some substantial carries. more so than Robinson, and they stuck with him. I was shocked because late in the game, they trust Brian Robinson. I'm not sure that they trust Antonio Gibson. Well, that myth was dispelled in this game because in the crucial moments late in the game, as you're salting it away, they didn't have Brian Robinson on the field, which is what they normally do. They kept Antonio Gibson on the field, and it paid off huge dividends. He helped burn the rest of the clock off, salt the game away, so that the Texans never saw the football again. So that was again something refreshing to see, and we'll see if that continues moving forward. Upon further review, the defensive line continues to be everything that we drafted them to be. Jeff Skanina deserves a ton of credit because they're playing as one. And I think this game was probably, along with the Titans game, which I thought the line was absolutely dominant in, this game was another example of what this line can be. The Vikings game, too, was really, was an outstanding game by the defensive line. But that one didn't yield as many sacks as this did, or the Titans game did. Those were two big sack games there. This game is another example of rushing as one. Rushing in your lanes, doing the things that you're supposed to do, rushing off of the guy next to you. There was a rush where Montez Sweat goes inside. It was not a called stunt. He was not supposed to go inside. He just did it because he saw how Jonathan Allen was rushing, and he rushed off of him. And that's just, having the ability to know what the guy next to you is going to do and how to play off of him. And that's that chemistry that we talk about. Not just on the offensive line. We talk about it and harp about it on the offensive line, having chemistry and being in unison. That's also something that goes together hand in hand with the defensive line as well. And so it's fun to watch. They were dominant up front, as I mentioned. 5 sacks of Davis Mills, a handful of other hits that pressured him, forced him into errant throws, sped up his clock. Also, Dameon Pierce was a guy that we talked about as a big fixture of this Texans offense and a focal point that we needed to really hone in on if we were to have the success that we were looking to have. He's been such a huge part of that Texans offensive attack. It takes a lot of pressure off of Davis Mills. You needed to get to Dameon Pierce, slow him down to really have the impact that you were looking to have. 10 carries, 8 yards for Dameon Pierce in this football game. Dominated them at the line of scrimmage. Their rookie Green on the offensive line struggled mightily against Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne inside. And so you got to credit this defensive line and what they were able to do in this football game as they continue to assert themselves as among the best in the NFL up front along the defensive line. And again, we spent the draft capital. We've done the work to be able to reap the benefits of what these guys are doing. It's so good to finally be able to say, hey, we're now, getting the fruits of our labor, right? You spend these picks, you put these guys together, you spend the money to keep Jonathan Allen here. You may have to spend some more money to keep Daron Payne here and Montez Sweat here. It's good to see it finally paying off. So, upon further review, the secondary is starting to live up to the expectations that we're setting for them, because I think a lot of people now have turned their attention from the defensive line. We expect defensive line dominance now, right? I think now the focus is turning from the defensive line to the secondary. That's the new fun thing to talk about from a fan base standpoint. You look at Cam Curl, you look at Derek Forrest and their ratings, Bobby McCain and their ratings in PFF. I'm not a PFF fan, but a lot of fans continue to harp upon that, which is fine. That's not my thing. I know I'm an eyeball test guy. I watch them. I know the impact that these guys have. You're seeing Derek Forrest continue to evolve each and every single week. He's our interception leader, added another interception to that total with a ridiculously acrobatic and athletic interception. Benjamin St-Juste continues to separate himself as the true number one corner on this team. Big play down the field to set up that interception by Derek Forrest with the knockaway. Hopefully he is okay. No one asked about him today. I thought that was somewhat negligent on the part of the reporters. But again, they'll find out on Wednesday. I guess they just figure we'll wait until the injury report comes out and then we'll ask questions. Then you also have Bobby McCain, who I thought had a strong performance yet again, made a couple of tackles. Him and Cam Curl made a couple of nice tackles underneath on some third down throws where they threw the ball short of the sticks and were hoping guys could break a tackle and make it to the first down, and they would have none of it. McCain got off of a block on a wide receiver screen and made a great tackle. And so I think those guys continue to play really well. And then, of course, Kendall Fuller, one of the guys that doesn't get enough credit, always gets a ton of blame, but is continued to get better and better these last 3 weeks to a month. He's been playing exceptional football. Pick six to really set the tone in the game. I thought that the secondary continues to live up to the hype that we're starting to put on them as they continue to grow. We're seeing less and less defensive breakdowns back there, explosive plays being given up. I think the communication is getting better. That secondary was good again in this game. Upon further review, Joey Sly starting to become our guy. 3 for 3 in the field goal department in this game. Also made all of his extra points, both of those, 5 of 5 on his kicks in this game. Every single one of his kicks on the kickoffs went out of the end zone for touchbacks. That's going to be key next week when you're playing against a guy like Cordero Patterson, who just ran a kickback for a touchdown, his NFL record-setting 9th of his career. So that'll be huge next week when we play the Atlanta Falcons. But Joey Sly continues to give us something that we have yearned for at the field goal kicking position, and that's consistency. The ability to feel confident that when we send a guy out on the field for a 55-yard field goal, he's going to bang it home. Feeling good about a guy when we send him out there for a 58-yard field goal, that he's fully capable and he's not going to let us down and surrender great field position. It's something that we felt like Dustin Hopkins could do, had the leg to do it, but just never could. Joey Sly is now delivering for this team, and we hope that he continues to do it at the level that he's done it. He's only missed 2 kicks this season. Feel really good about Joey Sly, and I think he's gaining confidence as the weeks go by. Another strong performance for him in this game. Upon further review, Scott Turner did a great job of continuing to assimilate Curtis Samuel into the run game. Curtis Samuel scored the lone touchdown offensively in the game for Washington. He continues to touch it on the ground. He tried to get others involved. Terry had a carry, so did Jahan Dotson. Those didn't go as well and weren't as effective. But still, I like the creativity. I like the fact that he mixed it up a bit, got other guys involved. But Curtis Samuel is the one that we need to continue to make sure he touches it in a running capacity. When he touches it, good things happen, and did in this game again as he scored another touchdown. So that was something that we would like to continue to see happen moving forward. Upon further review, the red zone offense has to improve, and that's not something that you're not already aware of. I talked about it. It was the first thing I talked about yesterday after the win. You heard guys talking about it in the locker room. As a matter of fact, that's the perfect segue to our next segment in other news. So Ron Rivera spoke Victory Monday presser. Celebrate! It's Victory Monday. Ron Rivera spoke to the media. This is the most jovial I've seen Ron. It was damn near 20 minutes long. So at one point, Ben Standing made the comment that, Ron, this is the happiest I've seen you at one of these, can you speak to that? And Ron was like, yeah, I'm in a really good place right now. I feel like this team is really starting to get it. They're gelling, and, I feel like this team can really do, big things. So Ron's starting to feel it, and I think the fan base is starting to feel it. I'll talk about that in a second here, but let's get to the brass tacks of the big news over the weekend into today. So let's start with Taylor Heinicke. Heinicke was given the keys to the whip for the remainder of the season as long as he plays well and the team continues to win. I don't even know what that means, because does that mean at the sight of first trouble they're going to bail on him? I don't think that's Ron's MO. But Ron said, I have a fiduciary responsibility to this organization and to those players in the locker room to do the right thing by them. We said Ron would be that type of guy, but we weren't sure if he would put his interests over the interest of the team. That's not Ron Rivera, and I felt confident that he would keep Heinicke in there, and he's doing that told Heinicke. He didn't disclose, and neither did Heinicke. They were on the same page on that fact of not disclosing when that message was conveyed to Heinicke. I'm thinking going into the game, Heinicke already knew he was the guy, right? Because he cried post-game when he was asked about his journey, and you know, the statement came out and before the game. Remember, we all heard the statement before the game was played that Heinicke was going to be the guy moving forward. And then he was asked about it by one of the reporters after the game. I think it was Jen Hale that asked him about it. And you could hear him, got a little frog in his throat, you know. And she said, you got emotional there. And he said, yeah. And he, you know, explained, like, you know, the journey, right? Like, this is what I dreamed about doing, being a starting quarterback in the league. And he worked so hard to get to this point. And, you know, you're happy for him. But he's going to have to continue to play and play better than he played in this game against the Texans. But he continues to win, and that is the most crucial component, is that the team believes in him, and they just feel like if we're close and we give him the ball, I feel the same way. I was disappointed that he didn't get the opportunity versus Minnesota, because I felt confident that we were at a bare minimum going to get into field goal range. With a timeout and a minute and 50 left? You kidding me? With Taylor Heinicke, we're going to get into field goal range. But I was like, he might do these boys, and we might win this game, right? That's how they feel in the locker room about Taylor Heinicke. So, you know, Ron has said that he's the guy moving forward. You know, we'll see how long of a leash that is, you know, exactly. But the decision has been made, and Carson is okay with it. He doesn't have a choice, right? They'll reevaluate him this week to see if he's ready to be the backup quarterback. But right now, Taylor Heinicke is your starter moving forward. So we'll see how it goes. Chase Young activated today off of IR. So he will be activated for this weekend's game versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now, will he play? Totally separate discussion that we'll have later on in the week potentially. But as of right now, he's activated. He will be on the roster. Now, will he play on Sunday? They'll determine that with how he gets, you know, how he looks during the course of the week with the workload that they put on him and how he responds. But we're getting close, whether it's this week or next week. We're getting close to Chase Young being back on the field. And Ron set out some expectations, some realistic expectations. And I'm glad he did that, because there are a lot of you out there that just, I think, you have a warped sense of reality when it comes to this thing. This guy hasn't played in a full calendar year, okay? A full calendar year, and a lot of you expect him to come back in and play 50 snaps like it's nothing. And so Ron is like 12 to 16 snaps. Situational football is what we'll be doing with Chase Young. He'll come in situations that we deem pertinent, third down, situations like that where we want him on the field to get his feet wet. And by season's end, we're hoping to have him play 20 to 25 snaps. That will be the goal. So for those of you out there thinking Chase Young's just going to jump in the fray and he's going to be playing 40, 50 snaps every week, you're sadly mistaken. They're going to work this guy back. Now, if he handles the workload and they feel comfortable with what he's showing them and they want to up it a bit, then we'll see if they do that. But this won't be a Logan Thomas situation where they got to week one. Logan Thomas was supposed to be on a pitch count and the game was close, and Logan ended up playing like 45 snaps in a game where they really only wanted Logan to play 25 to 30 snaps. And then Ron at the end of the game said, yeah, we got a little carried away. That's not happening with Chase Young, okay? There will be no we got a little carried away with Chase Young. He'll play, you know, a minimal amount of snaps until they're comfortable with what they're seeing from him, and he's comfortable and confident in the knee and playing at full speed. So just understand that there will be limitations on Chase Young when he first comes back. I don't think some of you, totally understand that whole train of thought, but he did go ahead and put all of that to rest. So that's good news there. Ron talked about the excitement around the team. He said he was at the gas station. 5 people approached him. He said there were over 10,000 fans. And I'm getting the sense that we took over NRG Stadium. And I could see it on television. I've had countless people hit me up and say, hey, I was at the game. Send me pictures of them at the game. and said, yeah, we took over, and that was beautiful. And Ron said the players, they acknowledged that there were a lot of fans there, and so he said he's starting to feel like they're building momentum, that there's this groundswell for what's going on with this team right now. And I think some of that has to do with the fact that Daniel Snyder's selling the team, but it also has to do with this team playing football that you can get behind and be proud of. This is sustainable. For those of you who said this is not, this is sustainable. We can do this and duplicate this week after week. Okay. So this is fun. Winning is fun. Okay. And the guys getting it is fun. And that leads me, and Ron said a bevy of other things, and we'll probably get into that tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, I'm going to be live tomorrow night for Commanders Nightly News. The week is going to be reconfigured. Obviously, it's Thanksgiving week. And so the podcast will be Wednesday. There will be no content, more likely than not, Thursday or Friday. Now, you may get some content out of me Thursday, just depending on how the Giants-Cowboys game goes and how I'm feeling. If I'm not doing anything, if we're as a family, we just chilling, shooting the shit, I may be able to give you some content. It's not going to look, you're not going to have all the bells and whistles. I'll be at my parents' house, but I may be able to fire up the webcam and chop it up with you guys for a little bit. It just all depends on how everything's going. Obviously, Washington's not playing, so it's not imperative, but this will be a condensed week where most of the content will be Monday through Wednesday. And so we'll be live on Tuesday, not Wednesday night this week. And so we'll be live tomorrow night. And so just kind of, wrap your brains around that. But I will be back on Sunday in the office for the Mob Squad viewing of the game. I will be back, obviously, for the post-game show, and then we will go back to business as usual, the following day. So just know that this week is going to be a little bit condensed with Thanksgiving and Thursday and Friday being pretty much work days. But again, we'll see what happens and what Thursday brings. Anyway, a lot of you were moved by the post-game, and we love the post-game victory speeches. It's something that we zest for after these wins, each taking on a life of its own. Last year, no one dictates to us throwing the rock. We all got in, we were engulfed by that, right? And so it got us fired up. This year, it's been different. Ron's mom passed. Terry gives the speech last year. Ron couldn't. He started it, couldn't finish. Terry finishes it for him. Ron mentioned that these leaders are stepping up. Jonathan Allen stepping up and saying what he said yesterday. We were about to talk about that. He talked about Terry's speech the week before, and he said what they've told the players is we're not really that worried about what you can't do. We want to talk about what you can do. When we want to talk about you guys getting better. And Jonathan Allen made mention of the fact yesterday after the game that we don't need a loss to, be the motivating factor for us to get better, essentially, to correct mistakes. So there's this feeling right now of this team really starting to put it together. And we're starting to believe as a fan base. Again, some of this, I think, bleeds into the fact that Daniel Snyder's selling the team. That makes you feel better. But it also is because of what the team's putting on the field. The product that they're putting on the field is something that you can get behind. And I wanted to read a couple of comments from some of you out there that watched the victory speech and you felt good about it. So this is from Darnell Kelly, who hit me up on Twitter. He says, "The greatest thing about the win was the post-game talk. They weren't happy. That's beautiful. We coming along," he says. All right. Got another comment. All right. This one is from my guy, B. Baytops, who writes, I know you've already seen it, but love John Allen, right? And then he's playing the Jonathan Allen audio. He sent the video. You guys have seen it already. If you haven't, go watch it. Okay. But then I got a message, and this is pretty long, I will admit, but I'm going to read it anyways. My guy, you know him as King of the North, right? And I think a lot of us this resonates with a lot of us, and it definitely resonates with me. And I echo his sentiments. And so I'm going to read you what he sent me on Twitter today. He says, Lou, did you see the locker room speech by Ron and Allen? They beat the brakes off of Houston, but instead of celebrating like they arrived, they are disappointed in the mistakes they made. Finally, he says, I have waited so long to see signs that this team is developing a championship mentality. Jay Gruden would always say that these guys are pro athletes. If they need me to motivate them or remind them to stay focused, then we are a lost cause. I've criticized Ron for being too patient and accepting mistakes as a part of his young team's development process. Maybe Ron was right not to push this team harder until now, but I love that he's riding this team to stay focused and not be satisfied with nothing less but excellence on the field. The messaging from these veteran coaches has been perfect the last few weeks, and you can tell it's resonating with the players, especially with veteran leaders like Allen and McLaurin fully on board. I'm trying to control my expectations and not get too excited about this 6-5 team that lacks a franchise quarterback, but Louie, I'm sure you can see it too. There is something special brewing here. That Houston win was a big deal. He says, teams that are committed to excellence don't have letdown or trap games. The Washington Commanders are committed to excellence. We wanted to change the narrative this year. Well, Dan is selling the team, and it looks like we won't be denied a playoff spot. What a great time to be a Commanders fan. Ron's plan. Haven't heard that in a while from anyone. Ron's plan. Ron's plan. I had somebody else hit me up on Twitter yesterday. My guy, Hawk, right? And Hawk hit me up yesterday, and he said that, and, you know, I don't like to keep repeating myself over and over again. Sometimes I do, you know, but nonetheless, Hawk said yesterday, let me get to the tweet from Hawk. Here it is. He says, this feels like year 3 with Ron in Carolina. The team started out the same way so far. And I tweeted back to him and said, I don't want to keep saying it, but he says, you said it. I'm starting to believe it. I've mentioned this to you guys numerous times, especially when we were 1-4 and you didn't want to hear this shit. And I knew you didn't want to hear it, but I told you guys anyway. I said, just so you know, Ron started 1-3 in year 3 in Carolina, and a lot of the fans were calling for his head, and they had pitchforks and torches because of the slow start. And then they rattled off 11 out of 12 victories in there, you know, to finish up the season at 12-4 in year 3 of Ron in Carolina. I'm not saying that that's about to happen here in Washington, but we've won 5 of 6. We're playing now. Again, we don't have Cam Newton. We don't have an established quarterback that you can ride his shoulders, this, that, and the third. But the defense is good. The running game is good. The weapons around Heinicke is good. Everything is here. The offensive line is getting better. They're not where we need them to be, but I think they're going to continue to improve. Getting Sam Cosmi back at right tackle, I think, is going to help. I think we're going to settle in, and this offense is going to get better and better and better as long as we keep the consistency and the continuity of the group together, which is what Ron also spoke about, the continuity and keeping guys together and giving them more opportunities to play and not yo-yoing Heinicke out of the lineup and Wentz back in. You want to have that continuity and guys continuing to grow with one another. So I thought that was dope that, you know, you can see that, you know, people are really starting to get on board and they're starting to really buy in. And this one will probably resonate with my guy Fat American, but I'll read this as well. This is from my guy King of the North once more. And again, he wrote a War and Peace novel, but I'm going to read it anyway because I think it's pertinent. He says, yes, because I responded to him. Yep, I see it too. You know, that's the way I was feeling. And he says, yes, this Washington team is my favorite since the 05 squad. One thing I love about this team is they turned the organization's greatest weakness, owner, scandals, and distractions, into a strength. They had to learn how to stay focused as a team or go down in flames like so many Washington teams before. The coaches definitely get some credit, but for this, those veteran leaders in the locker room are the real heroes of this season. So far, still lots of season left, that ability to stay focused will continue to serve them well because, like John Allen said, let's not have to lose a game to regain our focus. One other thing I love about this team is it's first time under Rivera where it appears that they are not playing players. He says that they are not playing starting players that just don't fit or playing the wrong position, right? We don't hear rumors about players playing outside the scheme anymore. I think Sweat was the last holdout, but he's bought in to the pass rush as a unit now. There has been speculation about Chase Young doing his own thing in the past, too. If that's still an issue, I think JDR is worried it might be. Then this snap count situation with his injury may be a great way for JDR to get him to start playing in the scheme. JDR can refuse to play Chase more because he's not rushing as a unit, and it can stay under the media's radar because they can just claim its snap count until he's fully healthy. I may be way off base here, and Chase might already be 100% bought in, but it's just a thought. So that's a great point that he makes. Chase was definitely one of the guys. When Ron spoke about guys not being mature, he was talking about Montez Sweat and Chase Young. They talked about setting the, league sack record for the most sacks by a tandem on a team and all of this stuff. And then they went out and they did their own thing and they were playing rogue football. And Ron wasn't all too happy about it. And he made mention of it to the media. And he didn't mention any names, but we all knew who he was talking about. And so, they make a change with the coaching staff. And you see these guys buying in now all of a sudden. And we're going to see what happens with Chase, when he comes back. Does he buy in? Is he going to rush, in the same manner as James Smith-Williams and Casey Toohill and, F.A. Obata have been rushing? And he's more talented than all of those guys. So you expect him, to be able to rush like they were, but even more so be able to put pressure on the quarterback. Will he be able to do that or not? We'll see. But we want to see if he is able to play within the framework of the scheme because it's working, clearly. And if it doesn't, like, King of the North said, they can then hide behind the, snap count thing as a way to not play him while they try to get him on board. If that does rear its ugly head, let's hope that him watching, and Chase has talked about watching and learning a lot by being on the sidelines. Let's hope that he's watching this team have success by rushing as one, and he wants a part of it and doesn't want to go do his own thing. We'll see. But anyway, I digress. I can tell you that this is a playoff football team. And if you don't think this team is a playoff team, don't believe me, just watch. Okay? You don't have to believe in Taylor Heinicke. But this team believes in Taylor Heinicke. A lot of the fans believe in Heinicke's ability to lead this team this year, not moving forward, this year. Enjoy the ride. Too many of you want to look big picture. Save that for the offseason. Save that for the GM. Enjoy the ride. We've won 5 out of 6 after starting the season off 1-4. We're playing great football, and we're doing this under the radar. Had we won that Vikings game and been on a 6-game heater right now, everyone would be singing our praises and talking about us. We don't need that right now. You know what we need? We need to continue to be an afterthought. When they talk about the NFC East, Dallas beat the Vikings 40-3. We'll talk about that tomorrow, right? Dallas, are they the team to beat in this division? Can they catch Philadelphia? Let them talk about everybody but the Washington Commanders in this division. I love it. I was watching a game yesterday, and he mentioned every team in the division and then gave a side note to every team in the division and stopped when he got to the Commanders. Didn't mention us at all. I love it. That's what I want. Keep us as a secret. They don't need to know what we over here doing. Till it's too late, we sneak up on them and they find out the hard way. Anyway, this is a playoff team. If you don't know, now you know. It's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Victory Monday. How sweet it is to have another Victory Monday. Had a Victory Tuesday last week. Look, keep stacking these bad boys up like bricks. Put them in the left-hand column. We'll count them at the end of the season, see if we got enough to play some bonus football. That's 6 bricks in the left-hand corner. All right? Keep stacking them up. All right? That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. We'll have more tomorrow live. I've got so much to talk to you guys about tomorrow on the show, including where Washington is, and we'll have a clearer picture of where Washington sits after tonight's Monday night contest. The 49ers lose. Washington then slides their way up, moseys and shimmies their way up the ladder into that 7 hole into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens with the 49ers. I expect that they'll take care of business against the Arizona Cardinals, but it's family business. Anything can happen. We'll see if they take care of business or not. No worries. Whether they win or not, I'm not concerned. We play the 49ers later on in the season. So, again, everything that we need to take care of is in front of us. Falcons are right there behind us. We play them next week. Giants got them twice. Cowboys got them once. 49ers got them as well. Everything we want right in front of us, all we got to do is take care of business. One game at a time. And so I just need to reiterate this. Jonathan Allen stepped up yesterday in the post-game presser, or the post-game victory speech, and talked about missed opportunities. The defense needed to finish the game. The Texans went 4 of 4 on 4th downs, and that allowed them to score 10 points. We stopped them on any of those 4th downs. The first one came when they got the field goal. All right? You stop them on that 1 4th down on that drive, and guess what? They don't have any points there. They had 3 4th down conversions on the touchdown drive. You stop them on any one of those 4th downs, they don't score the touchdown. The defense had an opportunity to pitch a shutout in this game. They failed to do so. And so Jonathan Allen wasn't happy about the performance, happy about the win, right? But not happy about how they finished this game. It was 20-0 at half. We should have won this game 30-0. But instead, we won 23-10. And so he said, look, we can be better. Ron said, specifically, we have to score in the red zone. And Jonathan Allen said, we need to finish teams off. Understand that this team isn't satisfied with being mediocre or beating a sorry team and allowing them to still hang around at the end of a game that they have been thoroughly dominated in. Past teams would have been celebrating like they just won the Super Bowl. This team understands that we had a business trip to go to Houston, beat a 1-7-1 team and make them 1-8-1, and come back home and get ready for the Atlanta Falcons. They took care of business, not satisfied with how they finished the game off, and now they're looking for more against the Falcons. You got to love that. And if you don't, I can't help you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one and enjoy Victory Monday.
Here comes the Diesel. Here comes the Diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.